Jo Swinson is perhaps the least well known of the politicians on whom the fate of Brexit and the future of the UK could rest. A Scot who went to university in England, but not Oxbridge, she studied management at the LSE, she does not come across as a typical politician. For many, she is a breath of fresh air, but that's mainly because few voters had ever heard of her before she became leader of the Liberal Democrats on July 22, 2019, 2 days before Boris Johnson became Prime Minister. What does she stand for? It's not only the general public who still know relatively little about her. Her rise to national prominence was rapid, but she is no political newcomer. Swinson first stood for Parliament aged 21, fighting Deputy Prime Minister John Prescott's seat of Hull East for the Lib Dems. When she was elected as MP for her hometown seat of East Dunbartonshire in 2005, she became the youngest member of the House of Commons and the first to have been born in the 1980s. With a brief interlude from 2015 to 17, when she lost the seat to the SNP, she has been there ever since. She gained brief notoriety in 2009 during the expenses scandal, when the Telegraph thought it had caught her out fiddling her travel costs. Why had her travel expenses gone up so sharply in 2006, just a year after she became an MP? "I stopped being eligible for a young person's rail card," was her answer. From 2012 to 15, she was a junior business minister in the coalition government, serving as Under-Secretary of State for Employment Relations and Postal Affairs. This is enough for the Labour Party to try to tar her as another closet Tory, deeply implicated in the coalition's austerity programme. As a government minister, she voted for the full range of austerity measures, including some of the most unpopular, such as the bedroom tax. She has since said she regrets this. At the same time, she had little choice. All government ministers are meant to vote for all government policies. The only alternative is to resign. Swinson has been most explicit since then in disavowing Nick Clegg's broken promise on tuition fees, when he went back on a personal and Lib Dem manifesto commitment not to raise them. Asked how she would have handled the problem if she had been leader, Swinson now says, "I wouldn't break the promise in the first place. I remember how I felt in the pit of my stomach when I heard what we planned to do, and I've learned to trust my gut instinct and never again fail to challenge a decision that I believed to be wrong." Traditionally, smaller parties have had a fairly easy ride with extravagant manifesto commitments, because it was unlikely they would ever be put to the test in government. Coalition politics makes that much more dangerous. Swinson seems to be saying she would be more careful about what she would promise. Whether she can resist the temptation to entice disaffected voters with juicy offerings remains to be seen. Labour have also tried to tie Swinson to the group of Lib Dems who paved the way for a coalition with the Conservatives by publishing the Orange Book in 2004, which promoted a free market version of liberalism, emphasising personal choice. Putting Swinson in with this crowd is a bit of a stretch. In 2004, she was not even an MP. It is more plausible to see Swinson's role from 2010 to 15 as simply that of a junior career politician trying to make her way. Like Ed Miliband during the New Labour years, she was doing what she had to do to get on. That means she is probably more vulnerable to another charge, one which did Miliband far greater damage than accusations of being a closet Blairite. As with Miliband, when he became Labour leader in 2010, politics is the only significant job Swinson has ever had. Being married to a career politician, as Swinson is, doesn't help. Her husband, Duncan Hames, was a Lib Dem MP until 2015 and joined the coalition government as Nick Clegg's parliamentary private secretary. In an age of populism, having spent your professional life in and around Westminster, as both Swinsons have, makes you an insider, when being an outsider is a far better pitch. Swinson knows this. She has said that her earliest political hero was not a politician at all, but the businesswoman and campaigner Anita Roddick, who founded the Body Shop in the 1980s. Swinson wants to present herself less as a politician with a political philosophy than as a campaigner with a social message: equality, environmentalism and openness, including being open to a return to Europe. She has said she will not enter government with populists or ideologues, among whom she includes Nigel Farage, Jeremy Corbyn and Boris Johnson. A more recent political hero is Jacinda Ardern, the New Zealand Prime Minister. Swinson said during her campaign for the Lib Dem leadership, "The courage, humanity and compassion Ardern demonstrated after the terror attacks showed the kind of leader she is. She is someone who understands the incredible power they have as a figurehead to shape how people respond to those situations." But it's worth remembering that Ardern only got to be Prime Minister in New Zealand by entering government with Winston Peters, her deputy and leader of the New Zealand First Party, which is often described as populist and nationalist. When Ardern took 6 weeks maternity leave in 2018, it was Peters who stood in as PM. Peters has advocated immigration curbs, voted against same-sex marriage and favours more direct democracy in the form of referendums. If Swinson won't work with populists and ideologues, she can't be Jacinda Ardern. Swinson does also have one thing in common with Johnson, whether she likes it or not. Both party leaders have small majorities in their constituencies of East Dunbartonshire and Uxbridge respectively, just over 5,000 in each case. That means both are vulnerable at the next election, where they will be targeted by opposition parties hoping for a massive scalp. Party leaders can usually rely on big majorities at home. John Major, when he was PM, had one of the safest seats in England, as did Tony Blair. Not these two. Swinson's political persona, as a recognisable human being whose favourite show is Fleabag, who has 2 young kids and a peanut allergy to boot, suits a time when party allegiances are fraying, and personal style and issue-based politics often matter more for voters than traditional loyalties. But that means it's also a time when big-name politicians are vulnerable to campaigns to take them out in their own constituencies. The unpredictability of current politics has given Swinson her big chance. It's also what makes her vulnerable.